This screencast lecture introduces the question of when a court will enforce an agreement to modify the obligations in an existing contract. You read Alaska Packers, which is the classic case on modification. The court ostensibly applies the common law pre-existing duty rule. But another possible basis for the decision would have been that the superintendent didn't have authority to modify the contract. He told the salmon fishermen that. Notice, though, that the court in paragraph 6 of its opinion assumes for the sake of decision that the superintendent had sufficient authority to modify. In the very next paragraph, however, the court strangely refers again to an argument about lack of authority. That reference conflicts with their decision to assume that authority existed. Whatever confusion there might be about agency law, the explicit basis for the decision is the common law pre-existing duty rule, as you can see from the statement towards the end of paragraph 6. A quote in paragraph 8 from Lingenfelder even more clearly states the essence of the pre-existing duty rule. A promise to pay a man for doing that which he's already under contract to do is without consideration and thus unenforceable. Put somewhat differently, the rule bars enforcement of a modification unless it's supported by independent or fresh consideration. As I explain in the notes, an alternative approach is a substituted contract, or a novation, in which a new contract replaces the old one after the parties rescind their prior contract. That's actually what the fishermen in Alaska Packers tried to do. But if it were so easy, then parties could make any modification enforceable. You won't be surprised to learn that courts often construe the New Deal as an attempt to modify and apply the pre-existing duty rule to its terms. This practice illustrates once again the principle of substance over form. The consequence of these rules is that the fishermen in Alaska Packers can't enforce the higher pay rate that they negotiated at the salmon fishery in Alaska. Let me conclude this screencast by calling your attention to the modern statement of modification doctrine in Restatement Section 89 and UCC Section 2209. Both the Restatement and the UCC have liberalized the enforcement of modifications as compared to the pre-existing duty rule. Under Section 89, a modification is enforceable for unanticipated circumstances, when enforceable by statute, and in cases of justifiable reliance. That's essentially a waiver theory. Under Section 2209, a modification needs no independent consideration, thus rejecting the pre-existing duty rule. But Comment 2 makes clear that the test of good faith applies to every attempted modification. Thanks for listening.